I'll grab your mics. All right, I've got 6 p.m. Good evening, everyone. I'll call the February 19th, 2026 meeting of the Credit River Planning Commission to order. And would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to tonight's meeting. We're a group of your residents and neighbors appointed to serve the community by reviewing development proposals and land use matters in accordance with the city's ordinances. As a quasi-judicial body, our role is not to advocate for or against any proposal, but rather to ensure each application is reviewed based on the facts presented, applicable law, and the policies established in our comprehensive plan. Our goal is to uphold a process that is fair, transparent, and consistent. Public hearings are an important part of this process. They provide opportunities for community members like you all to speak, share your concerns, and offer input into the public record. Your comments are important and they help us shape the future of Credit River. We'll approve tonight's agenda momentarily, which includes 3 public hearings. And the following is the general order for what happens during public hearings. Our staff members will present a summary of the project along with the staff report and findings. Commission members may ask questions following that presentation. Then the applicant will have the opportunity to speak and respond to questions from the commission. And at that point, the chair will open the floor for public comment. And if you choose to speak, we'd ask you to come to the podium, clearly state your name and address for the record, and make sure you fill it out. And then limit your comments to 3 minutes. And please keep them focused on matters at hand and be respectful and constructive, as I know you will be. After public comment, the hearing will be closed by the commission, and we may then hold further discussion and consider possible action. So one last note, as the planning commission, we do not have the authority to approve or deny applications. Our role is as a recommending body only. So the final decisions would come at a later date at city council meetings. So with that, thank you for being here and for taking part in your local government. And I would take a motion to approve or amend tonight's agenda.
I'll approve the agenda.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The consent agenda for this evening includes minutes from the December 18th Planning Commission this last year. Can I get a motion to approve or deny the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
All those in, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. With that, we'll move on to general business, public hearings. And public hearings tonight, we have 3 as mentioned previously. So following protocols that I'm about to read are the anticipated steps that are going to be followed to effectively consider, discuss, and possibly act on matters brought before us for consideration. So generally, like I mentioned, staff are going to present the summary and staff report. The applicant will have the opportunity to address the commission about the particular project. We'll ask questions if we have any at that time. After the applicant has the chance to speak, then the floor will be given to public comment. And then after that, we'll close the hearing and then have further discussion and possibly make a recommendation on each of these 3 public hearings. So our first up for consideration tonight is item 3.1, the Simonette Edition preliminary plat. And at this time, I would ask staff if they would be able to offer the summary of the report.
Certainly. Good evening, Chair Olson and Planning Commission members. The first item up for public hearing this evening is the preliminary plat for the Simonette Edition. This is really a rearrangement of lot lines. We're actually taking 3 parcels and creating 2 This did come forward to the planning commission at the December 18th meeting for a variance approval for the road frontage requirement, as well as the setback requirement to where they would build the home is supposed to be meet the minimum lot width. That variance was approved by the city council, and so the applicants have submitted to get the preliminary plat and then the final plat, which just goes to city council. That's not, we don't bring those forward to the planning commission for approval so that they can get that recorded with the county as variances do expire within a year. So just want to make sure that that gets on the book. Staff does find that the resulting 2 lots do meet all other development requirements of the city subdivision and zoning code. And there's no public infrastructure a part of this plat. They'll have primary and secondary septic systems on the new lot. And then they've already received the driveway permit as part of for the variance application for what would be, I think, in my exhibit parcel D, which is the lot that would have the new home. Parcel E has an existing home on it already, and it'll be adding some more of that acreage with that rear kind of wetland part that has the Credit River going through it. So fairly simple application.
All right, thank you very much. Is the applicant or anyone on the applicant's behalf here to speak this evening?
I'm here.
Please approach.
Yeah.
And if you wouldn't mind turning the button on for the microphone and then just state your name. Power button it is.
Brian Simonette,
And your address is,
15158 Green Oak Trail, Prior Lake.
you just press it once.
There you go.
Okay.
No.
Full training session for this.
All good.
Brian Simonette, 15158 Green Oaks Trail, Prior Lake.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the project this evening.
Yeah, so we've kind of worked through it as far as the variances and all that good stuff, but essentially going back to Scott County, this was a piece of property that I own, that I bought talking to Scott County. Then Credit River became incorporated, so rules kind of changed, things shifted a little bit, and we just kind of needed to redo some things. But essentially Scott County said find septic sites. My father's property adjoins to it, so we just did a lot line adjustment to kind of accept the septic sites and whatnot.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else at this point?
No.
All right. With that, we'll open up the floor for public comment. Again, anybody wishing to speak has 3 minutes. Please come up to the podium, state your name and address, make sure you fill it out on the form, and away we go. Is there anybody here to speak on this particular item, 3.1? Going 3 times. Seeing no comment, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Move that we close the public hearing.
I've got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Are there any questions or comments from the planning commission members?
Pretty much as a continuation from the discussion we had earlier with the variances, this was that's the final step for that.
Anyone else? All right. I'm hearing just a bit of an echo.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. With no other other questions or comments from the planning commission members, may I get a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to accept the staff reporting of the record, accept the application, testimony exhibits and other evidence, and recommend approval.
I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, we're on to item 3.2, which is a preliminary hearing for Cardinal Pass Second Edition Preliminary Plat. Planning Commission members have received a number of documents in their packet. And I'd ask at this time if staff has a report that they'd like to offer.
Sure do. Thank you, Chair Olson. So the second agenda item up for public hearing is preliminary plat application for Cardinal Pass Second Edition. This is a preliminary plat to construct 12 new home sites within the Cardinal Pass subdivision. The site is located on the west side of Texas Avenue, County Highway 27, and north of the Century Hills development. And there are some roads and stormwater infrastructure elements planned for this development. This does meet all of the lot size and acreages requirements and widths, all of that, as you can see in the table on the fourth page of my report that has the summary of the lots and the minimum sizes. And they do show the individual well and septic, the primary and secondary. And we did receive a letter from Scott County, and I think we'll make sure that, you know, through the conditions of approval, that all those letters and comments are met. I am gonna throw up just a PowerPoint on the screen here quickly to touch on some of the roads and access elements, because I know that my report, I tried to be succinct and have it follow and make sense, but we received a lot of really good information from the applicants as I just want to make sure that we're all as best as possible. If it shows up here. Okay. Okay, great. Oh, that's gonna be really delayed. Okay. I just wanted to start with showing, and for members of the public, since I think it's probably some of those who are in attendance this evening, this is the proposed layout for Cardinal Pass. You can see that they're proposing to connect from the Century Hills development, and would be a temporary cul-de-sac on the west side there, pending any future development towards the west, and incorporating that, as well as right now a cul-de-sac on the east side leading up to County Highway 27 or Texas Avenue. We did request through a couple different submittal processes from the applicant that they provide us a traffic study. That is because our subdivision ordinance does only allow for permanent cul-de-sacs when there's significant topographical features that prevent a through street, where a connection to an arterial roadway doesn't make sense for accessing requirements. And another reason being that the city has done a lot of historical planning on this particular intersection, as shown here in the Highway 27 corridor study exhibit. The blue square is essentially very close to where the proposed cul-de-sac is, and there is currently platted right-of-way here, leaving what I think at one time was known as the Liberty Creek development. So there is historical planning and from the county level and the city level for this intersection. And so the applicants did submit a report from Stonebrook Engineering that to determine if a safe intersection could be routed through this street. In summary, the memo did cite that the proposed intersection does not meet the site distance requirements that are outlined. We've heard different things from different people on where those site distance standards are coming from, but very likely MnDOT, and then a little bit of Scott County. And then there are constraints of wetlands and hydric soils for septic ability in the area for really high level development to occur in other parcels around this, according to the report. And then that the spacing just doesn't really warrant with the potential planned development in this quadrant of the city. Mm-hmm. And then they do show a north-south connection along the plat line, but the city staff did note in our reports that there's some concerns there's a whole wetland area there, and then the connection of 210th Street here to the north through here would have to cross a pretty significant slope, or for what we can see from LiDAR data and the GIS data, that it appears to be a pretty, oops, excuse email. And a couple other just general comments that we saw from the kind of area plan that was provided from that study. Again, we would not allow a cul-de-sac here at Harvest Hills. We also would not allow a cul-de-sac here at the Sundance Trail, which was the former Liberty Creek development. And then again, the same potential issues with the 210th Street connection and the extension through the wetland. And then we also received from the developer's engineer, who threw together all of their civil site plans and the preliminary plat. This one's not as easy to see. It's the dashed lines, and it's mostly the same, very similar comments, but there's the cul-de-sac here coming off of this potential connection, and here that would not be permitted from our subdivision ordinance. So that's what I have to add. And if you have further questions about some of the connections, and that, the city engineer is here as well. So
Sounds good. Is there anything to start with that you'd like to offer?
Yeah, it's just a couple of things. I mean, so I think both Claire and our report have drafted. There's really two main issues that we'd like the planning commission to consider tonight. And they really are independent of each other. The one is the street connection to County Road 27. And there's actually some very new information. Claire and I just received an email this afternoon that I didn't even read until I got here, but I did talk to Craig Jensen from Scott County by phone. And so there is some new information on that, but basically we have planned for that intersection for almost 2 decades. But we've never done a lot of research to determine, is this a safe location? Does an intersection really make sense here? And that's kind of what the traffic study did. It took a look at the whole area. And the conclusion of the traffic study was this is not an ideal location for the intersection because of insufficient site distance. Yeah, and that insufficient site distance is to the north, and the concern is if you have vehicles leaving the new street connection, you just don't have enough reaction time to safely bring your vehicle to a stop, before you have a potential accident or a conflict. So from city staff's perspective, we'd rather have fewer intersections at safer locations than vice versa. So we noted in our reports that we support whatever the county's recommendations are for this intersection, as ultimately it's their road, and they can set criteria on what they feel or what their standards are going to be for the safety of the intersections. The new information that we just received this afternoon is that, and the county's been kind of wrestling with this too, because they also have been planning for this intersection for a couple of decades. And what they had asked for in this email was just to reserve the right of way for a future street connection, and wanted to note that it could be 20 or 30 years until County Road 27 is reconstructed. But that would give them the possibility, and this would be Scott County now, give Scott County the possibility at some point in the future, if they wanted to make that connection due to traffic circulation or traffic flow. So that was their recent request that just came in, and the applicant probably hasn't even seen it yet.
I did forward it to them.
Okay,
so maybe
good.
they saw it. I hope
So they've had as much time to digest it as we have. And then the other item, which is really independent, is whether or not a northerly street connection is necessary. So both Claire and I have evaluated kind of the plan of the area. We've noted some deficiencies or some items that wouldn't meet city code with the plan of the area submitted by the applicant.
And Claire, maybe now would be a good time to throw up the alternate.
Yep. You want one or two? Do you know?
We could run through both of them.
Okay, yeah. Let me put those up.
You having a hard time finding them? I could try
I
to,
got it. I just.
Okay. just slow reaction times
Yes.
or a lag.
There we go. Can zoom in a little bit too. Maybe.
And so these what we'll call alternate concept plans just show like conceptual future road networks, how this area may develop in the future. It doesn't mean that the roads are going to be exactly in these locations, but in general, we expect to see street connections similar to this. And there's going to be a couple of locations where another access to the county road is going to be restricted, either by access spacing limitations or by environmental features. So, Claire, I don't know if you can use your mouse to kind of
Yeah.
hover over the cul-de-sac. Yeah, just to the north right there. Yeah, right there.
I'm trying.
Can't see any roads or anything.
Let me see.
They're down the bottom.
So in that location, the Credit River is just to the east of that conceptual future road. It just wouldn't be feasible to make a connection out to County Road 27. And additionally, it likely wouldn't meet county access spacing guidelines.
Got it.
So in that location, that cul-de-sac would be allowed due to site constraints or topographical and natural features. However, moving to the south, I mean, we think that a street connection to the north would eliminate that future possibility of a cul-de-sac on what was labeled on the previous exhibit, the Waz property. So from our opinion or from our perspective, reserving that right of way and having a street stub to the north, just as they're connecting to in the neighborhood to the south, makes sense. I guess with that, I won't continue talking. I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any immediate questions from planning commission members? If not, I'll invite the applicant or representative to come up. Good evening and thank you for being here this evening.
A little longer.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you
There we go.
You gotta just hold the right amount of that, so.
go.
I'm Tim Arvidsson. I'm with Stormwick Engineering. We're the company that put the traffic study together. We've also provided a little bit of oversight in looking at the geometric design of the project that Probe is actually the designer of. So we're very familiar with it. Probe wasn't able to make it here tonight, and Gary had asked me if I could step in and talk about it or answer any questions you guys might have. The one thing I'm gonna add about the traffic study. There's a lot of focus on the site distances. There was some discussions over what the source of it was. So the source of the site distance is the Department of Transportation and its stopping site distance that we're looking at there. We've made a reference in the report, there's a desirable longer length than that, and that just was an anecdotal comment that we had when we were discussing with the county, so we threw it into the report. So, so the site distance there is definitely not ideal. The part that I'm gonna say is getting overlooked a little bit is the density of the lots that are there. And so when we looked at the report, we took a look at the future development that was gonna occur in the area, and because it's predominantly 2.5 acre lots, you just don't have enough homes to generate the traffic that would necessitate having that additional intersection there. And the reason that's important is safety, right? You know, Shane had mentioned that you wanna have fewer connections out onto a, you know, busier county road. There's about 3,300 cars a day going up 127. Projected volumes on 210th, on Sundance, if we made the connection, is like 240. So you really don't want to have that offset. If there is an issue in the future when we concentrate those traffic volumes, then you can put in roundabouts, you can do turn lanes, you can do other safety measures there. But when we put extra conflict points in there, that was probably the bigger issue with the memo. Aside from the actual site distances, it's the overall density out there that's a real concern. So I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have.
Anything for Tim?
Anything from, at the moment for Tim or Gary? Do you have any?
Second. I guess in regards to the site distances in your report, we did get a letter from the, I guess your report, same here. Let me find that. Okay, your report was December 12th, 2025. And then I think we got a letter from Scott County on February 9th, saying that the report did provide information they were referring to when talking about site distance minimum, which you now are saying comes from the Minnesota Department of Transportation.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different site distances we look at. We look at stopping site distances, the difference with whether you're in a crust or a sag vertical curve. And then there's an object height and an eye height. And typically we'd use, I think it's 3.5 feet for an eye height, 2 foot for an object height. The county had made a comment, they thought it was 3.5 and 3.5. I have to go back and double check, but I actually think it's 3.5 and a half because we want to look at small objects in the middle of the road. Now they've changed that standard and it's probably been 4 or 5 years and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but that's the guidance that we're following there.
Okay. So you're working with Scott County then, making sure that both are.
Correct, yeah. In fact, the first thing we did when we started working on this, looking at that intersection, was talk to them to see what their concerns are. If they were supportive of the intersection or not, and they were actually the ones that had brought up the potential site distance issue. In fact, I said, I don't think so. When I look at it, it doesn't seem too bad, but when we measured it, it was definitely a concern, so.
Okay.
And just one additional item. So I did just share on the screen a Google Earth image, you know, a street view image. And this shows the deficiency. And so, I don't know if you see my screen. So what happens as a car, if you were, you know, traveling northbound, a car, you actually see it coming southbound off in the distance. And then because of this crest of this hill, you actually lose sight of it. And I actually stopped here before the meeting tonight. I waited for a car to come just to double check. And I did lose sight of it. And then all of a sudden I saw the roof of the car and saw it crest the hill. So there no doubt is a deficiency in there. And again, we'd rather have fewer safer intersections than more less safe intersections. It, you know, this whole discussion does kind of trigger additional concerns with our, you know, on the east side where we already have some platted right of way and where we've always planned for a roadway connection. But that's really, you know, tonight we're talking about Cardinal Pass, not on the other side of the road. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
So Amy, that would bring up second point Shane had with the north connection. We've had conversations, Clara, bring that map back up.
Yeah, which one?
Just the one that showed kind of the red line of the future connection,
Sure.
kind of getting all the way through.
Yep.
Just comments there to kind of bring to light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen. Okay. Hold on, not. Take some time. Want to- Is it, or is it one? Hold on, this one, Oh, it's not showing. Sorry, it says that I'm sharing. There we go.
Yeah, so when we brought the original plan forward, obviously this connection is not there. We've kind of twisted and modified a couple different times, working with Shane and Probe to have a zero wetland impact site. And so to date now, we've been able to achieve the TEP panel did a review and we've the site right now is a zero negative wetland, zero tree loss, which is really amazing for a, you know, rural residential site. And we understand Shane's comments of trying to get to the north. Now, obviously, you know, our history in Credit River, we've probably developed as many lots here as anybody in the past 30 or 40 years. And so I'm always trying to bring kind of the practical economic side to sometimes what the engineers can just put lines on paper or graphing. Nobody can spend the money and the time and the energy it takes to justify where these lines go. But in the development world, we've talked to most of the property owners at some point in time and had many chances to walk the properties in and around. And for like for example, Liberty Creek, when Mark Schwaber had originally purchased that property, he ran off right away and tried to get the county to guarantee so many buildable eligibilities. And it was written somewhere that maybe 26 lots or something was the number. Well, nobody actually did the field work. Come to find out now, you know, after years of foreclosure or repurchase, we find that there's 6.
I meant 10, but it was
Less than half, right? So point taken is the reality sometimes of what the market's gonna yield is not the same as the red lines drawing on the pencil. So when we brought, looking at this going forward, for example, like right now, this red line, I have not met Larry and Mary, and I don't know them. We have had extensive conversations with Greg in this property. But for example, this is a newer home built in the 90s. It's valued over $1 million on a 10-acre site. And it's not even conceivable to think that somebody's gonna go and plow that road through $1 million property to pick up 1 or 2 extra acres lots, which again would then not meet your criteria, because to do that, you either have to cul-de-sac or go back to 27 in the curve. So we see this as just being actually a non-starter. And so we've seen, you know, like in the back of Crestview right now, drive down through Crestview. Crestview has been here since we developed that in 2005. It's been there for over 20 years. Operates basically like 175 acre, 45 lot cul-de-sac, right? I lived in that neighborhood for 15 years, and I can't tell you the number of times I had to call the sheriff to either chase people parking back there, dumping mattresses and beer cans or whatever. Anytime we produce a dead end street without a driveway, it's just a spot for trouble and garbage to be dumped. So my point is to put this road in now, which conceivably will just never economically develop into this property properly, would just be a spot that you guys would be spending. We would have a burden because we would be building road with no additional lots, no additional driveway. You're gonna pick up your maintenance budget to plow it, to seal coat it, to maintain it every time there's a road increase. And the neighbors aren't really too friendly on wanting to upgrade and pay for the assessment for that road, because nobody gets a direct benefit except the one guy that will never develop and use it. So we see it from a different perspective than just the engineer side, kind of the practical standpoint of being responsible with the road budget. So we proposed that we get a north connection when the Tice property finally develops. If you just move this connection over, I think these lots are roughly 100 feet, so 300 feet, and maybe then take back a northeast connection where maybe there's a more probable place to get away from this $1 million homestead. And the Tice property could be on 33 feet and we would be on 33 feet, and it would make a more logical connection. This might be, I mean, we don't know how many years this might be down the road, right? It could be, we don't know, because you just can't, you don't know when the next door neighbor wants to put their property into play. So that's why we had a strong inclination not to show this road here, because this would now cause not high quality wetlands, but 2 wetland impacts. So we're back to doing the wetland mitigation for a road that really most likely will not be used. A good example of this, if you've driven up in Clemwood, right? Take 210 to Clemwood. We developed Clem's lots back in maybe the late 90s. I don't even remember. I don't even know if Chris was around then. But the same conversation came up. Connection going to the other property. So we dedicated the road right away. That if the next door neighbor wanted to, there was a way to get there. We never put the road in. Well, had it, nobody's ever requested or needed it. Had we built that road 25 years ago, the budget from you guys would have paid to reseal coat and do that road for no reason 3, 4, 5 times over, right? So I guess without the market asking for the road, we look at that as it's way premature. So we would be happy to dedicate our half of the 33 feet getting you to the north, no problem. And even if we need to clip this back corner, Shane, if you think it maybe ends up trailing this way, I actually think this, if it develops, will come through the back of more high open ground. This road will most likely, from a developer's perspective, come north up here, come back west, and probably do some kind of a connection through here. This most likely is not going to be a reality. I mean, those soils are like, if you think Liberty Creek's tough, I mean, there's going to be no bottoms in those roads. So even if somebody wanted to try to put a road through there, it might not be a road you guys want to take over anyway. So it's going to be tough ground down there. When you get down by the radio antennas down there, the walk down there, and you guys know it's tough ground down there, mostly peat bottom stuff. So Anyway, that's just the comments we had, so I think we're, Craig Jensen's comments from the county late today.
Yeah.
We're giving a future to buy the county, an option in the future, and we're totally on board with that. I don't think this, I think this actually follows our lot line pretty close. It doesn't cost us a lot count, and we're happy to facilitate if Craig thinks that's a need. And then I guess I would just work with, trying to convince the planning commission and the council that this connection, if and when, is better served a little bit, I mean, in the whole world, we're just moving 300 feet to get, so this doesn't try to take out a guy's $1 million homestead, because he's not gonna like the headlights, he's not gonna like the people coming right to his line for, I haven't talked to Larry, but my guess is whoever's gonna live there, it's gonna be a whole number of years before that $1 million house gets knocked down for that road. It would take a high density, I mean, you guys would have to approve some kind of apartment buildings or something out here to get that $1 million house get knocked down and put that road through, right? The economics just don't make sense. So again, just justification why we should slide that road to the west and give you guys a north connection. We would give you the same dedicated road right away when Tice's come to the table. We've talked to Chuck and Bonnie over the years. It's not there yet. So what that looks like, we don't know. But that was the two comments I had. Otherwise, we're on board with the rest of the issues and we're anxious to get grading and get our platform.
Okay, any other questions from planning commission at this point? All right, with that, we'll open up the public forum. You could state your name and your address and then fill out the sheet when you get the chance.
My name is Robert Davis. I reside at 6710 Kane Avenue. And I have a few questions. It appears to me that this development would use Kane Avenue as the main point of exit from County Road 8. And then it will go down to Century Lane, and then it will go down a block and then go up Bonita Way, where the road will be extended into the development. First question is, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you're gonna add 26, maybe 30 cars to that area going down Kane Avenue when the developments are complete. We have young children in the neighborhood. We have 20 homes. We have no one that owns one of our homes in my association, and I'm president of the association. We have no one who's in favor of that. So we would like to see an exit, even though they've just given us a long statement about why they can't take it off of Texas. We believe it's better off of Texas, grading it down, doing whatever, and eliminating the heavy traffic they're gonna create in our quiet neighborhood. Okay? And this is, another question I have is Cardinal Pass Second Edition. There's more land there. Are they planning a third, fourth, fifth, or is there a first that's not been talked about yet? Or how many lots total could be built back in there?
This is a second edition. This is the only one for this parcel. The first edition was when they parceled off the existing home.
Okay.
So this is,
And then there's still land to be purchased to the west of this property if it becomes available for additional development. Am I correct?
yeah, that could happen from anybody though,
Sure.
any developer.
Okay.
Mhm.
So our concern is the traffic that you're gonna create. We have young children playing in the streets. Another concern is the construction trucks that are going to be coming through our neighborhood and degrading our roadbed. We're the ones that end up getting taxed on that. So we would ask that you reconsider an exit onto Texas and see if that can't be done in an efficient way and eliminate the traffic through Century Hills.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak this evening?
I'm sorry. Go ahead and see, sorry.
All right.
My name is Kelly Miller and my husband Dave and I live at 6630 Century Lane in Prior Lake. We've lived there for 13 years. We live right at the corner of Kane Avenue and Century Lane. So we've seen some issues with that corner as it is. Cars and pickup trucks and things ending up in our yard. Or just recently, last night or whatever it was, had the car go off. And so, you know, that road doesn't see a lot of traffic, but there certainly is some issues with the T intersection that we have there. So this was a small road made really for this little subdivision. And, you know, people talk about things being not ideal for Texas Avenue and site distances and things like that. Well, I'm talking about grandkids and kids. And I'm talking about this being a small little neighborhood with a small little road. And you're talking about taking one turn off 8th, another turn to get onto Century, another turn to get up to Bonita Way. And it's just not a good road for that. And I realize Texas isn't ideal either, but at the cost of what? You know, the cost of possibly not having that sight distance, not being ideal, and hitting a child that's out there on the street. Same.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me well?
I know we can normally hear you, but it's just helpful.
Thanks for giving me the chance to respond. So we've been at this game a long, long time, and we certainly empathize every time there's a neighbor that's impacted. We try to be as conscious of that as we possibly can. We live here, we have families and kids and the same. Talking with Greg in the back, he's generously offered to use his property as a construction access point, which was very generous. Honestly, I think we'll be able to facilitate that ourselves on the current field access that comes off 27. We were gonna, as part of our developers agreement, use that as a access point for all construction, and then we would obviously clean and remove that after all the construction that is done. That would be, because we appreciate that, you know, nobody wants a big truck drive to the neighborhood. So the other thing to maybe just consider, and I think we just want to be friends with everybody in the neighbors that we're doing work with. We don't want points of contention. That's not what we're trying to do. We end up talking to most of the farmers, the landowners over here at some point in time. Originally, when John Kane was developing Century, at that time when Floyd Munshaw was still alive, there was actually talk of those guys conjoining, and that was almost brought together as one plat. And so when you're seeing our plat and the existing plat, at one time could have actually been the same action. So all the lot sizes and standards and road detail and access points, at that point, I don't know if anybody was around, but there used to be a gravel pit there, Wyman's Pit, that we developed into Harvest Hills. That was the point of contention, because it was trying to figure out how to close down a gravel pit and then put in a nice residential neighborhood, because the gravel operation was everybody's biggest heartache. So just to kind of put it in context, I know you guys have lived there 13 years, and this goes back way more than 13 years. The history of kind of what that was, is that whole area is always kind of planned as we're proposing it. So we're not bringing you something that's way out of line of what's been in the AUAR from back, Chris, you can help me, but maybe mid-90s, even earlier maybe. Like, it's been a long time. So
for territories.
yeah, so I mean, I appreciate the impact that it has, but it is for 12 home sites off of 45, everywhere else in the rest of the world, including the density in the neighborhood you live in, it's actually a very, very, very small density, very, very small change in traffic patterns compared to, for example, like Crestview was 175 acres with 50 homes. And there would be like, I mean, you look at much like Yellowstone that Ted's doing, or Territory, I mean, much more dense sites with much more high traffic. And then you have speed, issues with kids. Well, here, the stop and the stop is actually good, because the traffic slows, traffic goes, the traffic has to slow, and the traffic has to slow. So, and we were conscious of that when we knew that we were buying from the Munshaws as to how that was going to play out. So just to put it in context, that's been thought about, and really it's been laid out years ago as part of the AUAR. So, and open for any other comments after the meeting if you guys have questions.
I'd like to respond to that.
Stay up.
It's our neighborhood. There's 20 homes in it. I've lived there a lot longer than 13 years. I'm one of the original residents. These are very nice homes. We bought out there for the quietness of the neighborhood. We don't want any more traffic coming through our neighborhood than we now have, because we get all the traffic for Harvest Hills as well, because we're the first exit that they can exit on to get down to Harvest Hills. Our real concern is not the development. That's great. I don't care about that. But it's the traffic it's going to bring into our neighborhood. So again, I would ask, see if you can't get some kind of an agreement with Scott County and get some kind of a turn off of Texas, because you're gonna be doing it for your construction work anyway. That's good news that you're gonna use that. Yeah, I've seen you guys going in there already, actually, and driving around in there, so that would take care of that issue, but it's the continuing or ongoing increase in traffic that we're concerned about, and that's really what the point is. Okay?
And as part of the development agreement, Shane, the Century Hill sales, Canes, if we need to do additional traffic control, upgraded signage, striping, things that we can do to work with the neighborhood to help control traffic speeds, we're all about it. We don't want to upset their life anymore than anywhere else, but obviously, eventually everything connects. And everything goes through somewhere to somebody, so, I appreciate the concern, but I don't. You know what I mean, it's just like in someday, the next piece connects, and the next piece connects, and you know, since the first boat landed, we've been moving forward paving the road, so I just don't have an answer other than we'll do the best we can to. You know, be respectful of the neighborhood, and we have been for many years working here in the township, always been trying to make friends with the neighbors, so. So, you know, and we'll make sure that everybody in the neighborhood has our contact information, direct cell phone, or under, you know, anything going under construction, you guys have issues. You know, even before you blow up the city, just call us and we'll respond. So, try to take care of it the best we can.
I got a question. Do I have to get up to that?
If you would, please.
Yeah. So I'm Dave Miller, Kelly's husband, and Bob's done a wonderful job for the 13 years we've been here. So I guess my question would be, so is this a done deal where you're saying you have to go through Kane now through Century, or is it 27 a possibility?
I would say it's a done deal because even if 27 went, we would never not go through. I mean, the connectivity for school bus, fire, safety, both the city, the county, fire department, everybody that makes comments on the class are all gonna require a connection. Nobody's gonna let Benita be a dead end street. It's all gonna connect. And what's gonna happen is eventually, we did a traffic study showing that the residents that live, the 12 families that live there, it showed that 2 of the 12 are gonna work somewhere in Jordan or Prior Lake or Shakopee, and they're gonna come out. Maybe when Tice develops fully, they'll go out to Flag and work their way west. You're gonna get 5 or 6 of those people that are gonna be a 35W connection, and they're gonna go down 8 and make a connection. You're gonna see 1 or 2 that maybe work Prior Lake Savage, and they're gonna find their way back up 8. So eventually 8 is gonna be most likely a roundabout for safety, and that's gonna be the safest place to take the majority of this traffic's gonna go that way.
So are you talking about, so maybe we're talking 2 different things. So are you talking construction for sure is gonna go through Kane and then through Century, or you're just saying once those homes are built? they're
Once the homes are built,
Okay, so there's a possibility to the construction through 27.
we will do a temporary construction access to 27 for sure. Right, so when we start rolling in bulldozers and gravel trucks and all the things that we do to build, we'll make an access point that does not go through a residential neighborhood. We don't want to be seeing, you know, any more pressure on a neighborhood with construction trucks, right? In the past, we've done this, we've actually signed at the very entrance out of 8, we say no construction vehicles, things like that, right? All construction goes off 27. And that's been very effective. I know that Prior Lake has implemented that policy. We've seen that Shakopee in other areas as well, to really help keep that traffic where it belongs. And like I said, once the neighbors move in, if your plat originally would have been, 40 acres or 60 acres or 80 acres, the density and the road detail that we're showing would have all been the same regardless of where your neighbor would have been here 20 years ago. It was always planned to be how we're proposing. We're not upping the density, we're not changing the density, this has always been what's been on the books, well before even John Kane developed over that. Right? That's been part of the plan for many years.
But I think there's a big difference between having the big trucks, right,
Yes.
going through
Absolutely.
Kane and then Century. If you could go through 27, Bob, I don't know if you were thinking of that too, but it's still not ideal. You got the, 10, 12 homes coming out there, you got the extra traffic, but that's not to me, I don't know what my wife says. But to me, that's a bigger concern because, you hear those trucks go by all the time, and you're gonna have how many trucks?
Well, you have the same conversation even within your own neighborhood, within your own association. For example, the guy who lives in the cul-de-sac way up on 27, he's got nobody that turns around there, but the guy who's on the outside corner and 8, he picks up all 20 homes every day. Sure. Right, and the same thing, we had that conversation when Vivint developed the gravel pit, because Harvest Hills Drive became kind of the main collector street where Brad DeRoche ended up buying, we ended up deadening that road. It was the same issue. Is it a collector street or is it into your street? And what does that mean for everything? Speed controls, the driveway spacing, how much room between driveways, all of those issues came up. So again, even within your own neighborhood, you've got as much of an issue as we do adding, traffic movements through, right? Yeah.
It's just 2 other quick questions, because there might be somebody else too. But when would this start? I don't know if it's all timeline when you guys would start.
So our first application proposal, or our first development review meeting was summer of 2024. We worked through all the issues over 2025, and now we're here for 26. We're hoping to have a construction schedule starting in maybe April and May. So when the frost comes out, we'd like to it won't be a long construction schedule. This is a very simple project. The road is not complicated. We have no wetland mitigation. Literally, this is a 2 or 2.5 week grading job.
Okay, and that's on 27.
Coming off 27, but building into your road that we're building, I mean, this is a very, very fast construction schedule. There's not a lot of pipe work, there's not a lot of scuppers. I mean, when we get in and out of there, it's not gonna be like this all summer with months and months of bulldozers and beeping in your Saturday mornings. That is not what's gonna happen. And we're happy to put a reasonable start time on the equipment starts, a close down reasonable to keep from being late. And the contractor most likely that does our work is trying to retire. I keep dragging him back. I mean, Tim Roos worked in the township in the city here for many, many years. And Tim's a very responsible, seasoned guy. He's not gonna be there, messing up your world. I mean, he understands what it is to keep the neighbors happy. Right, so go.
Last question I got for you, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, but do you know the homes that are gonna be put back there? I heard 10 acres, are these $1 million homes or?
There are 2.5 to 7 acre lots. So far, the waiting list we have for lots, I would anticipate homes from $1.5 million to maybe 2.2. And it would be in line with, you know, we're anticipating about a $20 million tax base moving in over 12 lots.
Okay.
So it's gonna be an asset to the community. I think it's definitely gonna be an upgrade. It certainly is not gonna hurt property values in the older neighborhoods. It's gonna pull those up. It's not gonna take them down. So I think it's, you know, I understand the traffic's not a win for you guys, but overall, getting past that, we all have to connect. And you know, we run into these fights all the time with a power pole going through an easement. Somebody's mad, but everybody's got to turn on the lights, you know, so the world has to connect at some point. But I think overall, when things done, it will be a very, very good addition to Credit River. I mean, you can see what we did in rescue here is obviously kind of a crown jewel of the area. Other areas that we've done back in Terra Farms the last few years, very nice homes, nice home projects. So this will fall right in the line.
It's just, again, my wife said, Bob said, it's just, it's a small, quiet neighborhood. You got kids running around.
I do that live here too, great kids, right, Crestview, live, you know, all over, so I understand.
Okay.
And if it's not us, it's just the next guy, and I honestly tell you, pat ourselves in the back. I'm glad we're doing it because we're from here, we've been here, we're not leaving here, so if anybody's gonna be a responsible developer in the community, the guys have been around now. You know, right, it's not some guy coming into town, kicking up a bunch of dust, filling up his wheelbarrow, leaving and leaving you guys. I mean, we've been building and developing here since 1986, long time. Yeah, and I got a bunch of kids that are now in the business and they're right behind me, so everybody's worried about making sure we're not great enemies. So, thank you.
Jean, is there anything you want to articulate about the roads and follow up to that?
So there's, yeah, one thing, I'm gonna try to share my screen again. Find. Okay, so in regards to the roads, we do have a requirement in Credit River for street connectivity. And so basically the point of that is we want our neighborhoods to connect for the reasons that the developer stated, for you know, school buses, for emergency service vehicles, for all that. One point that I do want to just show is so that the developer proposed moving that street connect, a northerly street connection to the plat line, which would be this line here. And in that location, there is a much more substantial wetland. So from our review, we just don't think that's the right place for a northerly street connection. In contrast, if the street connection was to go kind of where our schematic shows, it would be in this area. It's more of a swale, a drainage swale, than a historical wetland. So we think that this will be a lesser of an impact than this location. And if I could, let's see if I can quickly, I'll stop sharing that. No. Okay, and then my last point would just be, so the northerly connection that we're talking about would likely be somewhere in this area, just a continuation of Bonito Way. There is a wetland here. I can zoom in a little bit. But there's a chance that this street connection could occur without having wetland impacts. There's a small wetland here. And there's a small wetland here, and then that longer wooded area that we saw on the screen just a second ago is right here. So in between the areas, in this wooded area, was not delineated as wetland. So there is a chance that it could be extended without a wetland impact. But that obviously that design work hasn't occurred yet.
Mhm.
One quick comment, and because I certainly appreciate what Shane is saying. We would hopefully most likely be a contender when the Tice family decides to develop. Obviously we're not there yet, but we're at least what I think be one of the guys in the running. And Shane, my comment back would be, I would much rather work going north on the line and do a wetland mitigation to then a road that in reality can get there. My point is where you're showing the red line, I don't think economically we ever tear down $1 million house to pick up one lot. That's my argument. I would rather go through and say, okay, I might have $100,000 road correction to go around the wetland or fill a wetland or replace the wetland to make a connection than to have a road put there and never be able to get it to completion. Because we're never tearing down a $1 million house on a 10-acre lot. You can't get enough lots back. You know what I'm saying? This economic, this is never going to happen. So that's my only point. And I'm with Shane. I think eventually we have to make a connection. I just think the difference that we're seeing is, Shane, you're kind of just going this one. Oh, I'm getting to the same point you are. I'm just going a little bit west to go north and then go back east. Right? So somewhere in there, and what will drive that will be the developer someday who does the soil borings, does the perk test, does the platting work to bring to you and say, here's how this has to unfold. Until somebody does the work, we're just guessing. But one thing I know for sure, putting that road dead end into Larry and Mary's $1 million house with headlights and stopping, that is never plowing through that guy's front yard. So I just think it's a waste of our resources. You guys are gonna plow that road for 20 years and seal coat it, and it's gonna sit there unused with beer cans on the end. It does us no good. We cannot get any more lots. We cannot afford to pay for it. If I was on the planning commission, I would say, what does that mean? That means that probably we're gonna maintain and plow that for a long time and not have a benefit for our residents either, right? So some of the things, anyway, I'll leave it go, Shane, just it's your deal.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I'll get your card approved.
Our public hearing is still open. Is there anyone else who wishes to ask questions or make comment? Anyone else for public comment or questions? Going 3 times. If not, may I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, planning commission members, what questions and comments do you all have?
I can start, I guess it's more just curious, so Shane, on 27, how much of the road would have to be shaved off to make it so it's not a bad spot there?
Yeah, that's a excellent question. Unfortunately, we don't have an exact answer to that. But probably it would probably look something like shave a foot off the top of the hill, off the crest of the hill, maybe fill a foot. Somewhere in there is my guess, but it could be a couple feet, shave a couple feet off the top of the hill and shave and add 2 feet.
Because how many years will it be before 27 needs to have a major?
30, 40, right now it's a long ways out.
So it's not really realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't be realistic, to require, say a developer, an applicant to reconstruct a county road to address an existing deficiency. But it is something that could occur in the future. It just, it's hard. A lot of things happen in the future that you never thought would have happened 20 or 30 years ago. So
Yeah, for sure.
Sure, I as someone that has a driveway that backs on or goes on 27, and I heard the comment 3,300 cars. I'm not gonna sit out there and count them, but there's a lot of traffic on that road. And it is significantly increased when they fixed 185th or supposedly fixed it. So, and it's not really all cars either. It's huge trucks, loaded semis every morning, every night. I don't know where they're coming from, Jordan or something loaded up, and they're hauling the mail. I'll say that. So I would say fewer intersections on that road is everyone's best interest.
Other comments and questions?
I think I mentioned it earlier with the question, I guess it's gonna be up to the county as far as when things are gonna start to happen on
Yeah.
As far as the north, the road, possible road to the north or moving it. Why does, can it just be a right of way? Why does it have to be paved and an actual road? I guess, can't you just leave room to put a road if you need one in the future? I mean, I know you don't wanna rob from one lot too much and so forth, but. It seemed crazy to pave the thing and run it up to a dead end in someone's for no reason.
Sure, Commissioner, yeah, so our ordinances would require construction to the property line. They just always, what happens if you don't have the construction is when the road goes through in the future, the neighbors that are right there think that was their yard and they get really concerned. This is, to me, it's very similar to Bonito Way. I mean, Bonito Way was stubbed to the north 20 years ago. And it sat there for 20 years. And at the time, maybe, the future of when this connection may have occurred was unknown, but eventually things connect. It might take some connections, it might take a lot longer than others. And the other thing I would say, just in response to the applicant's comments about the $1 million house, is it wouldn't be necessary to demolish the house in order to extend the road. There would be a scenario where if the road is stubbed up in the right location, the road could be extended. And maybe there could be a couple lots that back up to County Road 27. But what we're not saying, and we're not, the city won't dictate at all when that extension occurs. It's just that at some point when the owner of that property wants to subdivide, maybe it's a lot for one of their kids, maybe, there's all kinds of things that happen for estate reasons, that we'd have the option to connect those roads. So, and again, the reason that we provided that exhibit and we made those comments is because our ordinance does prohibit those cul-de-sacs, unless it's required for a topographical reason, or for major environmental areas, sensitive areas.
Can we bring those maps back up just to walk through that again? It would be helpful just to understand what the proposed interior road structure, what the options are and where we're encountering some of those topographical issues. I'm trying to visualize it in my head based on
Which one would you like?
memory. Can we bring up both the applicant's proposal and then the alternate?
Mhm.
I'm trying to visualize it and I want to understand.
Yes. So. Do my best to zoom in. With the dashes are kind of hard to see. This is one of them.
Okay. So we've got the entire development outlined in red, correct?
Yeah, this where my cursor is how Cardinal Pass has been currently submitted to the city with the cul-de-sac out to 27 and then the connection on Bonita Way.
And that topographical, the bluff that was referenced,
Mhm.
where is that?
That is up here.
Is that,
Ooh, I went to the wrong slide. That went far. Through here where this blue
okay,
line is, because the Credit River runs.
yeah,
It's not, I mean, I could maybe pull it up on the GIS to see the topo a little better.
okay.
But
So that's in line with
with
27.
210.
Yeah, and with 27 anyway, indicating where it's already not desirable to have the traffic go out on that.
Well, there hasn't been a site distance
Okay.
analysis up here. It's just that 210th already exists here. There could be a connection to continue that street, and that's where the extension of that came. Another exit out onto 27, but the traffic study did not analyze this intersection.
Got it. Okay. It would be nice to be able to overlay
The two of them.
the two of them just to understand a little bit better about
Hold on.
how much of a difference we're
Might be able
talking
to
about.
split screen them, but it'll
Okay.
just take me a few moments to get them zoomed in well. So you can see both of them. Same time.
While Claire's pulling that up, I do have the LiDAR data I could share on my screen really
Okay.
quick. At 210th.
Yeah, I think that's just really helpful.
Okay, so zooming out, this is 210th Street, this is County Road 27. Again, Cardinal Pass, the subject property is right down here in this area. Boy, it's funny, on my screen, it's my cursor is moving somewhere else. It's that leg. But I'll zoom in. So this is the Credit River in this location. It's a DNR protected stream. And these, what's shown on the screen are 2-foot LiDAR contours. So these are topographical data, basically are gathered by use of an aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
So down here at the Credit River, it's at an elevation of, you can see right here at 960.
Mm-hmm.
And then just to the west of that, on the top of the bluff, would be an elevation of 990. So it raises 30 feet in elevation in this short distance, and then another 10 feet in elevation to the 1,000. So 40 feet in elevation
Yeah.
rise. That's we haven't studied that area extensively, but that probably is enough to say that future connection is not likely.
Yeah. It feels unfeasible based on
Right.
engineering. So,
Okay. Can hold them up side by side. If this works, we'll see. Yeah, there we go. Load. It's only showing one screen. Okay. There we go. I'll zoom in on. It's hard to see the street lines from that far away on this one, but that's the best I can do to get them side by side.
no, I appreciate it. So,
I could switch, maybe the Stonebrook one is easier to see with the green. Let me zoom in. Yeah, that's probably easier for you all to see.
okay.
It's pretty similar.
Yeah.
Just to assist and oops. There you go.
There we go. Okay, thank you. That is definitely helpful. So configuration of the road would influence lot lines.
For the north-south connection, yes. And if the commission were to recommend that it should not be a cul-de-sac and it should extend out on a County Road 27, that would also affect the lot lines a little bit too.
Yeah. I hear the strong, the comments from the community and from our planning commission members about the traffic on 27. And it really does not seem like that is feasible or safe, just, given we've got many, many years before that road will get redeveloped, just the impact. It isn't even that huge of a rise or a change in height, but it can make a huge difference, and it's easy to lose track of that oncoming car if you don't have that sight line. And so, you know, I see that on County Road 91 pretty prominently where I live. And 27 is very heavily trafficked. I also hear the neighbors, you know, in terms of the traffic in and out of the neighborhood that may be more than they've been accustomed to dealing with. And that change, while in absolute number of cars doesn't sound like a lot, I can understand where it may feel that way. And I also appreciate the fact that this is a proposal that, you know, builds on expectations and planning that has been around for a long time. We are seeing that kind of growth in our community. So those are some of the thoughts that are on my mind. What other questions and thoughts do you all have, commission members?
Don't mind them answered.
Claire, for our purposes and for the public, when we talk about a preliminary plat, you know, there are still opportunities to refine before it's brought back to the council, if I remember right, but this is solidifying,
Yes, I mean, a lot of the refinement usually occurs from technical comments that the city engineer might have for the developer's engineer.
makes
If
sense.
any sort of major lot layout change were to occur from a comment, now, if there's some, right, if it's still the same count of lots, let's say, and you're adjusting where that road's gonna go, we probably wouldn't have to renotice and redo a public hearing. But if you were to remove a lot or add a lot or completely change the layout from any sort of comment, then it would have to come back to the planning commission.
Got it. So,
I have a question for you, just as a thought. What does it take to reduce the speed limit, put signs up, let's say the speed limit is 15 miles an hour in the neighborhood? Because we got cars going 35 miles an hour down a block and a half road right now.
so we're a little out of order, but I think the question is in order. We had closed the public hearing, but I think, Shane, would you be able to speak to that?
Sure. So, as a city, we do have the, option now to determine our speed limits for our roads. One concern with signing something at 15 miles per hour, would just be, posted speed limit versus reality. So, a lot of times what we see is the traveling public doesn't drive based on what the posted speed limit is. They drive based on what the conditions warrant. And for that reason, what we're seeing is it might be feasible to sign these 30 miles an hour, 25 miles per hour, but probably not all the way down to 15 miles per hour. People are just going to drive faster than that, so they likely won't be effective.
That's helpful.
Could speed bumps be put in?
So technically, yes. I mean, there's nothing that would prohibit speed bumps. However, think of winter plowing.
Work well.
Yeah, think of, in Minnesota, they're just not used as a practice on local roads very often.
Yeah. So,
I don't see why you couldn't do a 15 or 20 mile an hour speed limit, and if people don't follow it, have the sheriff sit there and, it's.
I hate to interrupt, but I actually wrote Minnesota's policy for cities for establishing speed limits on local streets. I can help answer a lot of these questions if you want me to step back up there, so.
Yeah, Mr. Arvidsson did speak at the city engineers conference on this issue, so you have the expert here tonight.
Sure.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I couldn't get. My seat. So, we actually did an extensive study, at the request of, Minnesota Department of Transportation through state aid. And the study is actually available to the local research board with the website. We looked at, intersections all over the state or country. Actually, we looked at, I think, 200 different corridor studies. Not a single instance was there a reduction in speed because we changed the speed limit, because the speed limit changed. Not one. Now, there was studies that indicated that there was successful reductions in speeds or reductions in crashes because of a change in speed limit. If you actually read those studies, all of them had some other contributing factor. Like they'd say, I can't remember, city of Seattle saw a 30% reduction in crashes when they lowered their citywide speed limit from 30 to 20. But then you look at the test corridor and they changed it from a 4-lane section to a 3-lane section, which we refer to as a road diet, which we know reduces crashes by 30%. So the problem with changing the speed limit is people drive based on the conditions of the roads. They do not drive based on the posted speed limits on the local street. The other part that I was going to say is pedestrian crashes on local streets in the state of Minnesota is actually the lowest measured crash rate of anything we keep track of by a factor of 10. Like 97% of the communities across the state of Minnesota have never had a fatality on a local street. We looked at intersections all over the state of Minnesota over a 10-year period that had looking for repeat intersections. And we found one intersection in the entire state that had 2 pedestrian crashes at it in a 10-year period. And they had an apartment building on one side, a liquor store and bar on the other. And in both cases, the victims were intoxicated. So we could not find any kind of a pattern. So it's we do actually a lot of talking in this. We presented a lot of different things. So, but that's the problem with changing the speed limit. So
Yeah. Thank you for that context and expertise. Are there any other questions or comments from planning commission members? If not, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, do the whole thing, adopt the staff record in the, or adopt the staff report in the record, accept the application, testimony, exhibits, and other evidence presented on the record. Recommend approval of the preliminary plat with the following conditions. I have to go through that whole thing.
They're outlined in staff report.
You could say it's outlined in the submitted staff report if you really, unless you're amending one.
Yeah, I should stop. Okay, gotcha. All right. Okay, I'll just run through them here. So recommend approval of the preliminary plat with the following conditions. All outstanding comments from city planner memo dated February 12th and city engineer memo dated February 13th shall be addressed prior to the final plat submission. Updated plans to be submitted to Scott County Environmental Services as required for the review and comment for compliance of septic suitability and proposed locations. Connection of Cardinal Pass to shall be with County Road 27 shall be reviewed and confirmed by the city council as having insufficient sight distance. Therefore allowing the use of a permanent cul-de-sac on the east end of Cardinal Pass. Number 4, the developer shall provide an updated preliminary plat that supports a northern street connection prior to submitting the final plat. Now, are we indicating there where or not? Do we have to indicate where that road goes? I don't think.
Staff? No. Okay.
Okay, I'm choosing not to. Number 5, the plat shall be updated to show where a driveway could accommodate for 21480 Texas Avenue to meet Scott County's requirement that it be relocated off of Texas Avenue. That's it.
You got a motion. Do we have a second?
And a second?
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are on to our next item on the agenda, which is item 3.3. A request for a variance at 17826 Murphy Lake Boulevard. And I believe Mr. Casey has something he would like to say.
Yeah, I got a bit of a conflict of interest, so I'm gonna go over here.
All right. All right. So at this time, I would ask staff to summarize the application for variance.
I'm just gonna let sound of all that move out and then I'm happy to start.
Perfectly
Sorry.
understand.
Just let the room settle for a second. All right. Thank you, Chair
Take it away.
Olson.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the third application on the agenda this evening is a variance application for 17826 Murphy Lake Boulevard. The request this evening is to allow for a lot smaller than 40 acres in the Urban Expansion Reserve zoning district. The existing property has a home site and agriculture land totaling 157.2 acres, according to the Scott County GIS. And Murphy Lake Boulevard currently intersects the property. The proposed new layout would be about a 0.89 acre lot that would house the existing farmhouse, and then it would split off the remaining 156 point whatever the math is acres of the agriculture land. Just a reminder that a landowner seeking a variance must meet all three practical difficulty requirements as outlined in the city code, which completely is exactly what the state law says. We are bound by that three practical difficulty test, which is that the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the zoning ordinance. The plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner. And the variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality. Upon staff's review, we did find that it does not appear that the applicant meets one of the practical difficulties, as there are records of lot reconfigurations prior to this request where the farmhouse previously existed separate from that adjoining agriculture land that it now currently is, and was reconfigured in 2015 to allow for another home to be built on 40 acres located at 17874 Murphy Lake Boulevard. Therefore, the request to the variance to remove the farmhouse from that adjacent farmland is necessary due to the circumstance created. Staff also finds that there are other instances of road separating parcels in the city of Credit River and Scott County, therefore making it not a unique circumstance since this does exist in other properties in the city. And then since the Credit River ordinance and state law requires that all three must be met, staff is recommending denial of this request.
Is the applicant here this evening? I feel kind of silly saying that. And would you like to address us?
Never been on this side of it before. Calvin Casey, 8901 Jesse Lane. Yeah, I got a little PowerPoint. Things are harder to make than you think. The slides are kind of wonky, but you can get the next one. So here's just a little history lesson. So our farm was homesteaded in 1855 by Robert Pharisee. They had a log cabin actually on the other side of Murphy Lake Boulevard, kind of the sort of southeast of the current farmhouse. 1904, they moved across the road and built it, and then where it changed from Pharisee to Casey, so Johanna Pharisee, so Johanna Lane and Casey addition, so that came from. So that was the daughter of Robert, that the one that built the house. They bought it in 1912, and that would be my great grandpa. And the next one. And then his son, Robert, purchased it in 1937. And then my grandpa and grandma bought it in 1959. Yeah, they lived there until grandma passed away in 2024. And I think I'm right, it's roughly 28 kids have been raised in there, and I'm pretty sure it's the oldest house on Credit River that's inhabitable. So yeah, so this is what it currently looks like, and then here you can see. And if we get the variance, that's what it'll currently look like, with literally nothing, nothing is gonna change, you know, the road. Yeah, there's other properties in Carter River that are separated by a road, but, it's not, you know, every property in the area, the road is the property line. I get where I get that we don't want to set precedent and have a bunch of people come and try to do the same thing, but I think what makes it unique is you still need 40 acres to build a house, and nothing's being built. So it's really not, there's no properties in Carter River that have a road dividing them, and there's 40 buildable acres. So anywhere in Carter River. I just think it's a pretty unique situation, and I guess it's nothing's gonna change. The farmland is still gonna be farmed, and yeah, the house is gonna be lived in again. You can get the next one. So Carter River's got the vision statement now, and you know, if we're actually going to, you know, take the vision statement into account, I feel that we should say yes, because it pretty much, yeah, you can read it for yourself, I guess, but it says we want to, you know, keep things with a rural feel, and I guess it's hard to do that if we can't be farmers. So the next one, Steve. And then it's the vision, there's the values, mission, vision portion of it. But yeah, that's all I got.
All right, thank you. Are there any immediate questions from planning
Yeah,
commission members?
so I guess Cal, what, currently it's just one lot, the red and the blue are one lot, is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
And why does it need to be split?
Because I'm moving in there, and it's more of the things that you don't really think of, the insurance, and you know, I have 4 kids of my own, and if they have friends over and somebody gets hurt, who gets sued? It's the little stuff like that. It'd just be a much.
Sorry to interrupt, but so the applicant is not you, correct?
I'm representing the applicant, yeah. So
Okay.
that technically, my aunts and uncles own the property.
Okay, so I'm reading between the lines, they
Mhm.
wanna split it off. And then you wanna buy it. Is that
Correct.
okay?
Okay,
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, that's the intent.
Got it. So it can't be it can't stay as it is, because obviously you'd have to pick up a bigger check, I guess.
Right, that in the land's not for sale, so it's just, purely so I can get insurance on the house. It just makes everything a lot easier.
are there other questions from planning commission members at the moment? Dave, you took the one out of my head, so.
If that were to get split off, is it like, where is the existing septic? And was there a secondary one for future or?
Yep, so the septic was put in 2005, and I actually talked to Stark County about it, and I didn't get anything drawn up yet, but they said, look, just looking at GIS, they figured there wouldn't be any issue with getting a secondary site. The one that's there, about 20 years old, so, but it never really got used much, so there should be quite a bit of life in it, so, but yeah.
Sure, and it was just, I mean, I think reading, it was separate, or no, what happened 10 years ago, I guess 11 years ago, so it was divided then, is that correct?
Yep, so in 2015,
Or,
my uncle built a house, just right up the road. And at that time, the farmhouse was with all the buildings and, you know, the barn, the sheds, everything. And then there's 53 acres with it. And at that time, you know, you need 40 acres to build, so it just made sense to separate you know, all the farm buildings and put them with my uncle's home, so that just, yeah, just to make it easier estate wise, you know, so when the time came that my grandma passed away, that it was kind of already taken care of and everything. And that's, yeah, why it ended up getting split at that time. It's just, yeah. He needed 40 acres, and since we had to create another parcel, it was just easier to, yeah, split the farm buildings off at that time.
Other questions at this time?
No, I kind of understanding this is just to make this a homestead.
Yep, yeah, not planning on going anywhere anytime soon, so.
Alright. If there are no other questions at this time from planning commission members, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak about this particular request for variance?
Old Olds, 175th Street. Property is directly north of the stuff that Cal's talking about. I don't believe that Calvin Casey had anything to do with the way the property lines are being drawn or anything. It makes sense to me to have a property line road is. Seems like what he's asking for is reasonable. Doesn't seem like it was within his control for how we got here. And ultimately, he will be a different owner than the current property owners if you allow this. So I think you should approve it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Kathy Ha, Murphy Lake Boulevard. I'm right next to the property. I think I'm pretty much the only one that can actually see the house from my property, and I don't see anything changing with this variance request. It's you wouldn't even know that it had happened if you weren't here knowing about it. So it's gonna exist the same way that it's existed for a long time now, and I don't see any kind of a problem down the road for the town, or for the township, I almost said. I'm gonna buy you for that, for the city, so, you know, that's all I wanna say, is I just don't, I'm really the only person that can actually see this property, and I don't see any problem with this request at all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Nate Krieger, I don't live on 180th anymore. I was gonna say that I have a building on 180th. 2 property lines down from this property. Kind of the same thing, don't see any kind of big problems for the city long-term approving this. I don't see anything changing for the neighborhood if you approve this. Doesn't, just kind of a nothing burger, really. It's gonna help him out, and I don't think it's gonna hurt anybody else, so. I think you should be able to do it. That's all I got.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak at public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Going 3 times. If not, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second that.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. Are there other questions from planning commission members or comments that you wish to make?
No.
As Peter's looking good. I mean, these are tough, right? I mean, this stuff drives me crazy, but we have a rule, right, or a law, or what we're calling it with the UER district. And a line was drawn somewhere, right, and it was adopted for a good reason, obviously, to protect the land for future development and its scale and so forth, but. These are unique situations, so it is really hard to say that. It's a tough deal. I mean, to some extent, I don't wanna say who cares, but who cares? The other extent, we got rules for a reason. They were decided for a very good reason, I believe. And now we're in a weird situation where, what do you do? So it's a tough decision.
That's
the tough decision? The tough decision is it's by our statute, it's not allowed.
Because of the acreage?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a Minnesota statute, and I'll agree, it's tough, and as a fellow commissioner, and Casey's had a long history, and I have a big heart for farmers, and I was one, and but it's just to follow the criteria, and unfortunately, that's what we're up here for. And it was my opinion all day long. I don't care. But unfortunately, you have to follow that statute, and it doesn't fall into that criteria. Now, there's maybe a possibility of like a comprehensive plan amendment that could maybe be revisited or devisited, but from what we have as far as guidelines we need to adhere to, it just does not fit the criteria, unfortunately.
I can answer your question why it's difficult. Right now, this property is in an area called the Urban Expansion Reserve zoning, which takes up quite a bit of the northern part of Credit River. And this was put in place by Scott County back in 1977, back with, and here's the district performance standards, and this is from Scott County. Lots under 10 acres created and recorded in the Office of County Recorder on or before October 29th, 1971, meeting all other minimum lot requirements shall be considered buildable. This is kind of a setup because right now, the urban expansion reserve was set up by the county, and which I learned a few days ago by the Metropolitan Council, that one dwelling per 40 acres or quarter per quarter section. That's a density requirement for this zone. So what is happening is that we have a lot that's being created that's considerably less than 40 acres. And so this is what the reason is for the variance, because it's not 40 acres. Then to the what we were talking about as far as the rules there, what Minnesota statute, which Commissioner Tandy was talking about, is that there are 3 conditions that have to be met in order for that variance to be approved. And let me go back to what was talked about earlier here. That's what makes it, okay. Okay, the property owner uses the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the zoning. which of course he's gonna meet because it's a house. The minimum lot size in a urban expansion reserve is 40 acres. The proposed configuration does not meet that since the property would be less than 1 acre, but because he's using it in a manner. The plight of the owner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner. Something happened, of course, we talked about 2015, that this lot was on a larger lot. In 2015, they had roughly about 40 acres, and it was parceled out so that, I guess, according to record, Robert Casey was able to build a house on those 40 acres. And that was back in 2015. So they used that because back then, the urban expansion reserve rule was in place. So they had the 40 acres to be able to allow that to happen. Unfortunately, it cut off the part where the house he wants to be into. And then that's part of a connection that goes to the farmland, which is owned by the family trust, so to speak, as well, I think, for understanding. The idea that they want to separate that makes a lot of sense, you know, because they want to protect the trust. It's a liability protection move. That's understandable. The other one criteria, the partials were reconfigured in 2015, which I just mentioned earlier, to allow for another home to be built on the 40 acres at address right next door. However, this circumstance then was created by the owners. It was a man-made creation. Usually it has to be an issue where it's a factor of the property itself, not something that's been created by the individuals. That's the one criteria of the three that is not being met right now. The other criteria is granted is not that the property will not alter its character of the locality. Let's see here, they will not significantly alter the character of the surrounding residential neighborhood. No site modifications are being proposed at this time, only the reconfiguration of the lot line. That was the third one, which was satisfied. So it's that second one that's the violation. And that's in violation of section 452-357 Minnesota statute. And that's what we're right now having to deal with, is that we have a violation of that. It doesn't meet the Minnesota statute. And that's the hard part right now. I understand everybody is saying that everything, you know, we like the guy and we like to have him have what he wants. However, we're bound by Minnesota statute based on what the findings that we have found out that has come before this commission. So right now, that's what we're dealing with right now.
Is it possible to have a petition signed by so many people?
I don't think that's a factor that, I don't think that's a factor that we can fall into.
This is a tough one for all the reasons that the commissioners have outlined, and I don't see this as being created by Mr. Casey. And that is really difficult on so many levels. I see this making sense, except for this one provision. You know, I had a chance to drive by. It's such a beautiful area, and I perfectly understand that, an acre is far different, and the reasons why, separating out from the trust, with the ownership of the agricultural land makes sense. It feels like the law in the way it's written, in that we have to meet all three criteria, doesn't take into account all circumstances. And unfortunately, that part we can't remedy, and we're bound by it. But is there anything that we know of in law that does address this kind of situation in terms of planning and zoning? I can't.
That's what I was thinking too. Is there any way a good real estate lawyer could draft up where, say, Rob could sell the house to Cal and then have a lifetime lease on the land, but then you'd have an umbrella to cover any liability associated with it. Similar to, I guess, a trailer. That is mobile, but if liability is a thing, if that would be a legal or a way to protect both of you, maybe that would be an opportunity to seek legal on that.
Is there, you know, as we think about what zoning laws exist, you know, is there anything in that realm? I'm not able to speak to the real estate.
Yeah, I'm only able to speak to the zoning question, and we did, as part of this application and in speaking with the family, think about a comprehensive plan amendment, a rezone amendment. The unfortunate thing is that the only zoning category that that size of lot fits into is R1. And the very first criteria in R1 in your zoning code is that anything newly zoned that has to connect to water and sewer. That's like the first line in that. And I did reference that in my report, because we did want to acknowledge that we did look at other options. We wanted to see if there's that availability, not just variances come at the very last. We don't want to ever have to have anybody apply for a variance. That's the last option, you know, typically. And yeah, that R1, not only in the comprehensive plan, but your current adopted zoning ordinance specifies that municipal water and sanitary sewer must exist. So.
Yes, please. Sorry.
So. As far as, so, yeah, you guys are spot on, but except for, so criteria number 2, you know, is we creating the hardship, I respectfully disagree. We didn't create anything. So that was in 2015. If it was 2014, I would be here asking for the exact same thing. So what did we create? Then nothing was created. And as far as the whole intent of the 1 in 40 is so we don't have premature development, and nothing is being built. So it's all for, you know, not the, yeah. But as far as, because yeah, you need to meet the 3 criteria, but when I read the statute, I don't think we created the problem. But that's my opinion.
Can he buy the acreage across this road and make it a 40?
Land up.
Well, I mean, if it's the last resort,
Yeah, it's not really an option.
it's not an option. I mean, it wouldn't be continuous.
It would be continuing.
It would be continuous.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time understanding what was created. Because it was 11 years ago for one. You can't, you know, it's not, nobody split the authority to build a house to do, you know, it's all done the way Scott County wanted it done, and, you know, nobody broke any rules or did anything. But it's all how you interpret the statute.
Well, get me wrong, because currently the property is part of the 157, which of course is greater than 40 acres, which is falling in there. So we're trying to create now a different parcel that's less than an acre. And of course, because we are in the.
So, and the other part of it is, whenever the day comes that, you know, development does come, I mean, that'll literally be the last piece in that area, yeah, the farmstead would be last logical piece to be developed in, so.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. I get the rule, yeah, it's just none of it really applies to situation.
This isn't easy.
No. Not in the least.
Common sense, like it's. But
Are there other thoughts or questions at this time?
I guess I have a question. You keep going back to it was created by the landowner.
Well, it's created by a person. I think the term.
Well, I
It's
guess
not
I-
unique to the not the point of the statute. Circumstances are unique to the property, not created by the landowner.
But if the property,
Well-
the 40 hadn't been split off, it's still over 40 acres.
Well-
What difference does it make?
Okay, also to the point, he's not the landowner yet, so he's representing the.
Right, I'm just saying, you're saying the criteria isn't met because it was changed by somebody, but it's still over 40 acres. So what if it was attached to 7 million acres? What difference does it make?
But he's breaking it off to make it less than 40.
Right, but even if they hadn't broke the original 40 off, he'd still be breaking it off to make it less than 40, so nothing really changed.
Which is why
And
it's asking for a variance,
No,
because it's less than 40.
correct.
But it would
And
be
then,
less than
yeah,
40 if it
because
was
I
attached
know-
to 7 million acres, it'd still be less than 40, so nothing really changed.
It still wouldn't meet the requirements of the state statute, even if it was attached to 7 million or 150 or the previous 40 that it was. That's,
Because the 40 is the minimum.
technically, we could build 3 neighbors on the 157.
Yep.
Let me do it. There is case law that to the whole purpose of the landowner creating the hardship is if you build a shed 2 feet taller than it's supposed to be, and then you go in and ask for forgiveness later. It's your fault, but I'm not saying that it doesn't apply. I'm not saying you have to do something illegal or wrong for it to come into play, but that's the whole intent of the landowner creating the situation. That nothing is, in my mind, nothing is done intentionally to get some benefit that, it's not that.
And I think where I'm really wrestling with all of it is that materially so little changes, and yet the only criteria we're given to be able to make the decision is all 3.
mhm.
And that breaks my heart because it doesn't feel like it fits the circumstance at all. And that is where I've really wrestled with this. I really well and truly have.
Does Credit River have some union alignment that's a journey for real estate? Or is there any board member here that's?
No,
No.
What if it comes down to that?
The staff report has been reviewed by the city attorney. The staff report has been reviewed by the city attorney. Yeah.
It essentially boils down to if you think we created the situation.
I understand the thought, but I don't think that's accurate. I think the point is, we can't allow a 1 acre lot to be created. Yeah, but I guess I'm not too hung up on how it occurred to become.
That's the part of the statute that.
So the options that we have before us, outlined in the staff report, include recommend it, there's a recommend to deny that we could table this and request additional information. You know, those are really the two options that I see outlined in that section of the staff report. Is that accurate?
You could recommend approval, but you'd have to amend the findings that staff has found to align with that approval.
Okay. Commissioners?
Is there any kind of an urgency to this? I mean, does it have to be done? I mean. Well, I mean, we're right now focusing on this one particular point here, and then I think we're getting, one way to the other here.
Again, there's a,
I just say if I could clarify when it comes to the, sorry, I have to scroll to it. The not created by the landowner section, what we're really referring to is that the house, the original farmhouse existed on its own 40 acres and could have continued that way. And then the lot lines were readjusted. That has now connected it to the 150 acres agriculture that they're trying to split off of it. If that hadn't occurred, we would be looking at this variance through a different lens, which is why variances are unique to every property, every application we get. We aren't looking at past instances or other, it's the information that's given to us and the specifics. And like I said, my planning team looked through lots of different options to try and, see if the variance wasn't necessarily the only option, but it is. And with the history of 2015 reconfiguration, that's where we've been caught up on it not aligning with the state statutes, that we have to look for findings of fact to present to you guys, that of course you can amend and look, but this is what staff's analysis. And like I said, it's been reviewed by myself, other planners, and the city attorney.
So just a little correction, so the farmhouse was originally with 53 acres, and so there was land on both sides.
There still is, yeah.
Right, but it's just where you picked the driveway, right? So.
Yeah, but it was still existing with land that way, and was the
Right.
intent of splitting it off was to build the other homestead. And again, there's other instances in the city where roads go through the city and Scott County, that the roads go through and bisect true property lines, how they're recorded.
So I guess, if you do something at the property, then forever you can ask for a variance because you created that different scenario.
The way the statute is written, if it's like Peter did a fantastic job of explaining it, is that we're looking for uniqueness of other, like topography or things that are not circumstances created by physical, like human, and through decisions that led it to here.
So Claire, is the objection the 40 acres or is the objection that Cal created the situation?
Well, it doesn't meet, so the objection, they're asking for a variance on the 40 acres. That doesn't meet that requirement. Staff has found that it doesn't appear to meet the practical difficulties that the state law requires that we use to make variance decisions due to the history of the reconfiguration of the lots. And
I respectfully, I disagree, just because every parcel has at some point been redistributed. How far back, I think 11 years ago.
one time it was all Adam and Eve. It's split up since then, so how far back does this go?
I don't believe 11 years ago, Calvin, my neighbor, had anything to do with property lines or land.
Well,
And ultimately, he would be doing all ours, so I don't see it happening.
well, the thing is that, okay, when we talk about the circumstances created by the property and not by the landlord. The reason we want this variance is because that's what they want. It has nothing to do with, okay, there's a bluff or there's wetland or there's something unique to the property itself. We're talking about the land itself that's creating this variance. The reason we want this variance is because that's what we want. We want this house to be by itself. There's nothing wrong with this house. We just want it all by itself, which is something a landowner or a person wants, which is not part of that statute. It has to be
That's the
something.
criteria. How would this have ever happened ever in the history of the world? Because the only time anybody would ever ask for this is if they wanted it.
open the public hearing or.
Yeah.
Okay.
I,
comment.
yeah,
We had the public hearing.
We-
Point.
Let's rip the band-aid off here. I make a,
Okay.
I guess I would say, it's hard, I mean, it's tough stuff, but I mean, to me, we're according to our statute and according to the UER, it needs to be a 40-acre lot and you can't get there. I mean, that's my take on it.
so do I have a motion then?
Yeah, I make a motion, we adopt the staff reporting record, accept application, testimony, exhibits, and other evidence, present the record, and recommend denial.
I've got a motion. Is there a second?
One second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. We now are at general business on the and we do not have anything under general business, so at this point, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Us.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.